I know a lot of people think nurses are thrown under the bus. That is something I'm trying to spread loud and clear. That is a myth.
Oh, it is a
That
myth,
is
huh?
not the case.
Okay.
It's a
That's good
huge myth.
news.
It is. And I say that with the caveat of obviously nurses do things wrong. And in that
Yeah.
case, yes, there are lawsuits against nurses. But in order for a nurse to be thrown under the bus, there would need to be conversations between the hospital, aka our client, insurance, and the defense attorney saying, who are we going to go after? Who should we go after? I can tell you that doesn't happen because also that would make you a pretty crappy defense attorney.
Wait, so you're
When
trying
you're,
to punch up. You want to go after the more powerful, the more influential.
first of all, nurses are probably the first ones they're trying to get out of a case. Because unless a nurse has done something like the Duranda situation, like in 2017, giving
Which
Vecuronium instead of Versed,
that's a famous case.
that famous case, I'm like, that's a great example of yes, nurses mess up, and we do have a lot of responsibility, absolutely.
Mhm.
But it comes down to, say, for example, there's short staffing and something happens and it's determined that it is actually a staff ratio issue, that actually falls back on the hospital. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, that's very reassuring,
So
actually. I
yes,
feel like this is an exclusive going trying to fight myth.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's nice to learn that. That's great.
yeah,
I mean, it's not
absolutely.
great that it happens, but no, you're always told, oh, they like throw nurses under the bus. It's that, and it
Not
makes
true.
sense. That's amazing that they acknowledge that it was a nurse to patient ratio issue.
Yes, that is something I always want to dispel because I know it's always talked about. And just like there are nurses and doctors who we've all come behind them, or we're like, you're not the best nurse, or you're not the best doctor, or thank goodness I'm here today, or else some things could happen to this patient. But there are not so great plaintiff attorneys either. People like to say, oh, you switch sides. First of all, if you want to say I switch sides, I didn't. I'm defense. I'm on the side that defends the healthcare entity. But regardless, the role of a legal nurse consultant is unbiased, for one. I would happily work on plaintiff side, and patients, we've seen it all the time. I saw a patient lose their leg because a nurse didn't check pulses. Absolutely, if I read that, I'd be like, that patient should pursue a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think, especially being healthcare and then looking at law, we tend to see a lot of black and white. And when you step into a role like legal nurse consulting, it's not. However, this myth around nurses being thrown under the bus is actually a very unfortunate narrative that was pushed by unethical plaintiff side, and it just got to bedside, and bedside, as we do, we ran with it,
Yeah.
because it is so much easier. Imagine you are plaintiff counsel and defense has a nurse who is not as forthcoming with information because they have a natural distrust, because they've always been told that they're going to be thrown under the bus.
Right. That makes sense.
And it makes it easier for plaintiff to defend their client and go after. When defense is pointing fingers at each other, it's a lot easier to make your point as plaintiff, when their defense is over there trying to get their client straight because no one trusts anyone. It's actually benefiting plaintiff counsel, not yourself at all, as a nurse, as a healthcare entity.
You can see though how it's easy for nurses to believe that because you get the short end of the stick constantly. So you're like, well,
Oh,
yeah, of
yeah.
course. So why not? Why wouldn't we get thrown under the bus?
Yeah, I don't blame them. Absolutely not.
I can see
I don't blame
how
nurses.
it's you go on to the defensive and maybe even less transparent during certain situations, which inadvertently will harm you because you're paranoid about getting in trouble.
Yep,
I totally see that. Thank you
absolutely.
for sharing that. That's good to know.